Hey, what's up everyone? In this video, I'm going to be talking about some positives of the tech industry because I'm in the tech industry and I'm just going to be giving my 2 cents on what I think is going to happen. Keep in mind I don't have a script prepared, so I might fumble a little bit, but yeah. And number one, we have the real reason for the tech layoffs. You see, back in 2020, during the pandemic years, they started hiring a lot of people, except the only problem with this was that barrier to entry for tech was like extremely low to the point everyone could just do it. It's not a shortage of jobs, it's just the fact that now they have a lot more people who are like not as skilled. And since the tech sector was on fire during the pandemic, the companies were overhiring like crazy. The entry to barrier was like extremely low compared to the usual standards. So what we're seeing right now is the consequences of it, and we're seeing the junior market especially affected by this. I'm gonna make a few interesting points which some of you might be aware of. And one of the biggest misconceptions in the tech industry is the fact that you will lose your job to AI, which is never gonna be true, trust me. It's always to someone who knows how to use AI the best. Let me explain. Do you guys remember when Bezos hired a lot of people saying it was an AI system for like an e-commerce store, but in reality it was a bunch of Indian workers? This is a really good thing, especially for third world countries, if you guys are watching this from third world countries, because I believe a lot more work would be outsourced to the third world countries due to the labor costs in the first world. Why would I pay 80k a year when I can just get it done for like the fraction? Tech is not like blue collar work. It could simply be outsourced to a country that does it for like a fraction of the cost. I mean, honestly, it's a win-win situation. If you are interested, you could relocate to a third world country, especially if you are a junior. Now, this is not a forever kind of thing. It's just more of to get the experience or the title under your belt. So once you have the title under your belt, you can obviously go back. And number two, we have building business-related applications. One of the biggest problems that I see with a lot of people is the fact that they have a degree, but they don't actually know how to do anything. They might know everything about data structures and algorithms, and then they might even get through the interviews and everything. But when it comes to practically working with building something real, it just doesn't happen. Now, the next time you try to build the next to-do list app or follow another instructor, this is called tutorial hell. The only problem with tutorial hell is that it takes a lot longer, plus you don't really learn anything unique. You just learn how to copy what the other person typed. And one of the best resources I can give you guys is the roadmap.sh and W3 Schools, because that's where I learned, plus GPT based active recall. So the next time what you want to do is you want to get some unique ideas, maybe from GPT, and you want to build that application even using AI and slowly try to understand what the AI is spitting out. Try to put it together and understand how things are connecting together, because companies do not value who can code. Companies value people who can actually build proper business processes, or at least attempt to build something that's actually useful. You could migrate to a third world country if you are open to that. Get the experience for a local company, because the amount of money you spend on the country itself is actually much cheaper. But to be honest, it's not sunshine and rainbows in these countries either. The job market right now is kind of cooked, to be honest. But the only fundamental difference between these countries is the fact that business processes, especially in the tech sector, will be mostly outsourced to third world countries. Again, AI is just a tool, except the real risk is not AI. It's the fact that there's someone out there who's skilled enough to use AI properly and probably outsourced from a third world country, which in turn will take your job away. I'm not here to hate on AI, but I think AI is going to be a bubble that's about to burst. You see, to grow AI, you need a lot more investors, except the only problem is that investors don't really see the value in this anymore. But let's say, for example, AI does take over the world. Back in 2005, network engineers were extremely afraid of the fact that cloud platforms were coming into play. Look at the number of jobs cloud engineering created. I think tech overall is just going to keep growing, but I do agree that lead code is honestly kind of a stupid way of assessing someone's true skills. Invest in building some proper projects that actually make some business impact. At least attempt to build something that has real business value in the real world. I'm not a social person, but the best way to network in 2025 is through LinkedIn connections. If you post often on LinkedIn, for example, about the cool tech stuff that you're doing, there's a high chance that the recruiters might see what you're doing and hire you in turn. I personally know people who get approached by these recruiters because of the fact that they have pretty impressive profiles. I did watch a podcast on someone who did get an interview and a few other huge projects because of the fact that he had a pretty good LinkedIn profile and he was like documenting everything. In my opinion, your soft skills are as important as your technical skills. You should think of how I can add business value, not just technical value. The tech sector is not a, okay, I know how to program type of industry anymore. With my tech skills, what kind of business projects that I've at least attempted to build. And by this, I don't mean you need to build the next Fortune 500 company. You just need to build something a little unique that adds business value in terms of like the type of project you create. So the point that I'm trying to make is that you shouldn't follow tutorials anymore. There's enough and more AI tools that help you at least build something. Just try to understand what the AI tool spit out instead of just copying and pasting it, especially if you're a junior. And the third thing on my list is learning cloud engineering properly. Because for cloud engineering, you need to understand more than just junior skills. To be honest, because of the the higher entry barrier, it's gonna be much harder to in fact land a job. I would say full stack development in this day and age is just like the basics you gotta understand. At minimum, I would say you need to understand DevOps at basics, AWS or any other cloud platform to a certain extent. If you do full stack properly, you will get familiar with the basics of DevOps, especially if you deploy your applications and work with CI/CD pipelines, especially with automated stuff like Vercel, for example. And honestly speaking, I think the most job security you're gonna have is in a third world country because the outsourcing costs are obviously much lower. So therefore, companies will continue to hire more and more people from these countries. Except to be honest, if you don't want to do all this, I think the best thing you can do is obviously get some kind of blue collar job, especially if you live in the first world, because blue collar jobs are going to be always in demand in the first world, because you can't really outsource like a welding project, for example. That's just not going to happen. So in that sense, I would say you have a lot more job security. And I only watched the news based in Auckland. Now, is this going to be entirely true for the whole country of New Zealand? In fact, it could be quite the opposite on the other end, which is actually a pretty good thing because only the people with the real skills will eventually end up in the industry. So that's what I'm saying. It's not the end of the world. It's more of a redirection. Every time you fail, just think of it like redirection. Overall, keep your head up. There's a lot of negative people on the internet right now. Honestly, it's kind of fair to be anxious about everything. And all you hear is a lot of negative people just yapping in your ear. Overall, do I think it's gonna go anywhere? No. The reason why I tell people not to go for lower entry to barrier jobs is the fact that a lot more people can do it, which means, you see, there's a fundamental difference in the kind of skills you have versus the kind of pay you get. For example, a doctor's compensation is much higher than someone else. I'm not going to specifically name any roles, but my point is go for something that has a barrier to entry, because if it doesn't have a barrier to entry, it most likely means that, no offense to janitors, but for the kind of work they do you think they get compensated enough? Now, the reason for this is the specialization and the kind of value it generates. For example, a doctor is highly specialized and therefore paid a lot more money for a lot less work. It's more of the knowledge and the specialization you have, not the kind of hours you put in. That's why I say always try to go for something more specialized, because it pays more for the same kind of effort. If you're looking for a job right now, I would say you can do something else, but overall you will eventually square back to tech because there's no other job that lets you do it hybrid like this. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Tech is not going anywhere. Just keep upskilling, just keep working on your craft, and just keep getting better. And overall, just keep building more and more. Just have a 50-50 outlook on life in general, and just overall do your thing. Be positive regardless of the 99 people who are whining on the internet. With that being said, guys, I'll see you guys all in my next one. Peace out.